Good evening, classmate. Here is my report about Lesson 2, Accountability of Moral Act. Basis of moral accountability, Father Coppen says, when I perform a free act, one which I am able to do or not to do as I choose, the act is evidently imputable to me. If the thing is blameworthy, the blame belongs to me. If it is praiseworthy, I am entitled to the praise. Every human act, therefore, since it is free act, is imputable to him who performs it. So meaning, who did an act, he is the only one who is responsible and accountable. Whoever is guilty should be punished. And when what he did produces good results, the praise belongs to him. To whom are we accountable? For violation of government laws, people are held accountable directly to the government and indirectly to the people. How about violations of moral standards? Under Christian natural law ethics, God is deemed the author of the law, hence violators are accountable to God. For non-theistic morality, violators are accountable solely to themselves. There are three bases for moral accountability, namely, knowledge, freedom, and voluntariness. These are the necessary conditions for the accountability of actions. First, a human act must be done knowingly. Second, it must be done freely. And third, it must be done voluntarily, intentional or negligent. To be credited for a good act or held morally liable or responsible for an evil act, a person must have done it knowingly, willingly, and voluntarily. Therefore, moral accountability relies on knowledge, freedom, and voluntariness, requiring knowingly, freely, and voluntarily done actions for credit or liability. Determining moral liability is analogous to determining criminal liability in criminal law. For instance, for you to be liable, you must have done the criminal act knowingly, freely, and willingly. In other words, for you to be morally responsible for your act, you must first have knowledge, that is, you are in possession of a normal mind, you are not insane or totally ignorant, sleepwalking due to somnambulism. So, moral liability is similar to criminal liability, requiring knowingly, freely, and willingly doing a criminal act. To be morally responsible, one must possess a normal mind, a person has a clear mind, and not be insane or ignorant. Knowledge is the awareness or familiarity with a fact, situation, or truth, unveiled through experience or disclosed in dialogue or encounter with persons or things. Knowledge that stealing is wrong is the awareness of what stealing is all about, that is taking the property of another without consent, as well as the awareness of violating property rights and all the other unpleasant consequences of violating others' rights. Knowledge that is stealing is wrong is the awareness of what makes stealing wrong. To have genuine knowledge, your mind must be normal, not impaired or vitiated by mental condition or ignorance. Oh, isn't that right? For someone with a cheap mind and even a child, they know very well when someone is crazy. They won't believe it. Secondly, the act is freely done. This happens when you exercise your power of choice. If the act you intend to do is a choice between stealing or not stealing, then you must have the freedom to choose which to do. Your freedom should not be impaired by an irresistible force or uncontrollable fear. Freely done acts involve exercising choice, such as deciding between stealing or not stealing without being influenced by irresistible force or uncontrollable fear. If the act you intend to choose is testifying as to your personal knowledge, what you saw, heard, etc., you should be free to do so without being subjected to an uncontrollable fear of being silenced by death. Thirdly, the act must be voluntary, that is, the act is either intentional or negligent. An act is voluntarily intended when it is done with the aim, purpose, or goal of attaining a result. An act is negligent when it is done voluntarily, but without care or precaution in avoiding the happening of a foreseeable event. You can be morally liable either by intentional act or to remove it. And if a person deliberately avoids enlightenment in order to sin more freely, his ignorance is affected. The basic rule is invincible ignorance, one that is beyond one's ability to overcome, is entirely involuntary and hence removes moral responsibility. Vincible ignorance does not free us from responsibility. Passion refers to positive emotions like love, desire, delight, hope, and bravery, and negative emotions like hatred, horror, sadness, despair, fear, and anger. Antecedent passions, those that precede the act, do not always destroy voluntariness, but they diminish accountability for the resultant act. In criminal law, the commission of a criminal act with passion and obfuscation. So, passion encompasses positive emotions like love and negative emotions like hatred and can diminish accountability for actions. Antecedent passions like criminal law can lead to obfuscation and criminal behavior. Fear is the disturbance of the mind of a person due to an impending danger or harm to himself or loved ones. Acts done with fear is voluntarily, but acts done because of intense or uncontrollable fear or panic are involuntary. So, fear is mental disturbance caused by impending danger or harm, with voluntarily occurring acts and involuntary due to intense or uncontrollable panic. We lose self-control. We are afraid our mind does not become correct or balanced. Violence refers to any physical force exerted on a person by another free agent for the purpose of compelling said person to act against his will. Actions performed by persons subjected to violence or irresistible force are involuntary and not accountable. So violence involves physical force used to force someone to act against their will, resulting in involuntary action. Again, we lose our self-control also. Moral accountability for what could have been. It is termed as sin of omission. Whatever one fails to do but which should have been done is also imputable to him. This refers to failure to act despite knowledge of being free. Therefore, different from negligence or lack of foresight, it is intentionally not doing same thing when one should have done. It is failing to act as a good Samaritan when one should have been acted as such. Pilate had the case of Jesus Christ investigated and found him innocent. He could have set Jesus free, but he did not. Withholding an information could have prevented a disaster. Damaging consequences could have been avoided.